The War Report coming live every Tuesday at 7 with Steve, Cat, Ryan, Amanda, and Eric. And the voice of NEW, Vince Berry. Hitting all the topics like a clothesline flurry. Turn up your speakers and hear them out. You can listen from your car, even on your couch. They too raw, who NXT? Handing out smackdowns, follow on IG. Plus, it's sponsored by TagMeADate. Go to YouTube and sub now for every update. It's all wrestling here. No safe space, now listen in. Time to hear from some of the greats.
Fuck yeah. It's go time! WrestleMania is upon us, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, everybody, to the War Report. It wouldn't be a War Report without the greatest WrestleMania theme of all times. And I say it every year, and I say it around this time every year, and it will hold true for eternity.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody. Vince, take it away, bro.
Well, it just when I hear this version of the WrestleMania theme, all I want to hear, it just reminds me of the video package where WrestleMania.
Yeah,
I love it, dude.
I think of Vince, I think of Gorilla Monsoon, and I think of Bobby the Brain Heenan.
The Mega Powers explode. You know? Hell yeah.
It gets you fired up, doesn't it?
I hadn't heard that. I mean, I probably haven't heard that since the last time you played it on the show, man.
Yeah, well, it was probably this time last year.
Right, get you pumped, but right, it gets you pumped up. It's one of those old school.
And everybody, welcome Al back to the show.
Yes,
finally
Al's
making
back.
his return.
What's going on, fellas? What's going on?
Oh, well, not much. We're back here on a Tuesday evening at 6 o'clock on Eastern Time, talking all things pro wrestling. So
I want to kick off with something.
Yeah, what's on your mind?
We've had a constant theme going on for, I would say, pretty much this entire road to WrestleMania, and it hasn't been a positive one. We've been talking about how we're not getting the feels and we're not as excited as we should be. And I got to say, sometimes you jump the gun. Sometimes you get a little butthurt because you're really thinking something's going to happen and it doesn't. But I will tell you, I now change my tune. I am starting to get a little more excited because there's more matches now for me to get excited for. And there's still some that haven't even been signed yet.
Yeah, but Steve, today is March 21st and WrestleMania is on like April 1st and 2nd.
Listen, the only match so far that I don't think they've signed and they're going to is officially going to be Ray Dominic, and that's going to happen on Raw because the whole family's going to be there, and Mommy's going to look at Ray and she's going to say, kick his fucking ass, and they're going to have the match. So outside of that, I think everything else has pretty much been booked except for whatever they're going to do with LA Knight and possibly Stone Cold, but we'll get into that. But outside of those two, we pretty much have our painted picture. Now it's really just trying to figure out who's going to be night one, who's going to be night two. Some of it's obvious, and we'll get into all that. But if you break down the card now, there is more to get a little excited about. You got John Cena versus Theory, right? Now, on paper, it's kind of doo-doo, but I understand why they're doing it, and I think it's going to be an entertaining match. All right, so at the end of the day, we're still getting John Cena, and John Cena is always a home run. So you got that. You have some star power there. You got Edge versus Demon in a Hell in the Cell. That is going to probably be one of the best matches of the entire.
Are we confirmed that the Demon is coming back, or is that just speculation right now?
All right, you're right. I apologize. It is speculation, although he himself in promos has kind of hinted
that's what
that
I'm
we're
asking.
getting Demon. But you're right. It has not been confirmed yet.
I was just making sure if he's implying it, then that's fine.
I get it.
I just didn't know if this was another thing that you're like, hey, this would be cool if it happened. Because it's another thing. Because I was listening to Wrestling Observer, and Brian Alvarez was saying how cool it would be if Vicky got involved with
Was he listening
Dominic.
to our show last week?
I know, right? He should be. Maybe he's one of the.
That's what we talked about.
But it's just so funny because we're all trying to think of ways to like spice up this WrestleMania stuff.
Well, yes, right, because we're all kind of feeling the same, but I'm starting to turn a little bit because, so let's say we're going to get that match. We're going to get the Hell in the Cell. Great for WrestleMania, right?
Yeah.
We're getting teased with the idea of LA Knight Austin. That tease alone makes me want to tune in. Whether Austin wrestles a match or just has a confrontation with a stunner and stank, I'm good. But again, possible star power.
Right.
You have Logan Paul, say what you want. He brings star power. He's proven himself in the ring. And him and Seth Rollins, I think, is going to be an outstanding match. So right off the Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair. I've never been so excited about this match until this past week with the brawl. That got me excited.
They finally got you.
Right. Right. And that got me excited. Hey, Tyra, welcome to the show.
Yeah,
that got me excited. You have both women's matches. Bianca, Asuka, should tear the house down. I think
they'll both be good. Both those women's matches will be good. It's just neither of them had heat until maybe this. I don't even know if the Asuka Bianca one has any heat.
Think about how many matches I've already named. We haven't even gotten through half the fucking card, and we haven't said anything negative so far about the matches. So I think from that kind of standpoint, I think we're going to get some really solid matches. We're disappointed we're not getting The Rock. We're disappointed Sammy wasn't in the main event. But you know what? I'm fucking excited to see Sammy Kevin now together again. And I have some ideas about that too. And we'll get into that. But, I'm starting to feel good about it. I'm starting to feel good.
Well, Ryan, thank you for joining us, by the way. In case you haven't been keeping up while you're trying to connect, we're talking about the WrestleMania card and how last week we said that maybe we weren't very excited about it. Steve is more excited this week after, SmackDown and Raw and all that with, the big Kevin Owens, Sammy reunion and some more things happening with some other matches. So I guess we'll throw it around here because me and Steve have kind of been dominating here. We'll start with Ryan and then we'll go to Al and then we'll go to Eric. Try that again.
Womp, womp.
Same boat. It's a little bit more exciting.
Oh boy, you're a little
Fuck me.
It's a little.
Oh,
it was a little Charlie Brown's parents.
All right, so we're gonna move on. How about you, Al? What are you feeling for WrestleMania right now?
Hold on a second. Ryan, if you can hear me, log off and try and log back in. See if
you're a little you're breaking up a lot. Like bad service.
I think Steve said it correct because while he was going through the card, I was saying the same thing. Like, wow, these are some very good matches. But, the thing is on WrestleMania, what do you always think about is the spectacle, right? We want the big names. So I believe you have very good quality matches. I think there's going to be a lot of matches that could be, match of the night. I think every match you said in the first half could be qualified as a match of the night. And we still got the best matches still to go. So I just think it's the names that are missing. I'm a fan of it because I believe that I think I spoke to Steve off air. We spoke once and I told him that I'm a fan that they're staying with what they got. That way they could build on it right away after Raw and just fire off on Raw. You don't got to start from scratch with no big name stars or part-timers that are going to come in, to appear on Raw, show a belt, and then leave again, and then, not be available to the next pay-per-view. Well, I like it, and I think at the end result, we will be happy by the end of Sunday.
We haven't even talked about, you want to talk about a fucking banger. We got Sheamus versus McIntyre versus Gunther.
Oh, they finally made that official.
They finally made that.
That's another banger.
That match could steal the entire 2 nights.
Yep.
Oh, I hope so. I think
you talk about hard-hitting action. This is going to be must-see fucking shit. You're going to see red from the neck down on every guy in that fucking ring.
Just chops the whole time.
Big men slapping man meat.
Yeah.
Right.
Love that man meat. It's
You
going
also
to be
got-
insane. And listen, I can't believe I'm saying it. And I still don't think this is going to be anywhere near the top rankings of any of the matches. But even the way they're telling the story, I'm kind of getting excited for Omos Brock Lesnar because now I really want to see Brock hit him with an F5.
So have you heard now the if you're an Omos fan, you're an Homo sapien?
Eric talked about
Yeah.
that last week. That's
Homosexual.
you
Yeah,
know,
and if you're a really big fan, you're an homosexual. Yeah.
you know who is very big and high on Omos?
Taker.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, there was an interview with the Undertaker. where
Taker
he,
spoke very highly of Omos, and so listen, if Taker can get behind him, maybe there's something to be said. Let's see what happens at Mania. Let's see
Hey,
if
Vince.
this is either going to be a decent match or this is going to be a complete shit fest.
right.
Hey, Vince.
Yeah.
And if you're scared of Omas, you're homophobic.
Oh no. Oh, but so
That's amazing.
That's fucking great.
almost
That
like
is the best.
listen.
We got to
everything
bring
I've
that
seen-
sign to a show.
Oh man, Brock Lesnar is almost phobic.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Oh, you might get kicked out, but I would love it. There's some stuff that's been like interviews and stuff, and almost being like very personable and kind of like likable and charismatic, like online and like on TV and stuff. Like that's not WWE programming. And then they decided that they want him to be like this big, silent, badass kind of thing, which I don't particularly. I think what they're doing is they're taking a guy who probably has a lot of personality and telling him to act like he doesn't. So he's acting kind of stoically and whatever. I mean, I think and I'm not saying his ring work is there yet, but again, he hasn't been doing it that long. That also questions why he should be on WrestleMania and with Brock Lesnar, but whatever. But I think that, with the potential that he's shown just from this kind of crap that they're giving him, if they kind of let him be himself, maybe he'd, this is a Dominic situation almost where they brought in Dominic. They're like, you have to be this. And it was bad. And then they corrected it and it was better. So maybe they can do a little bit of tweaking with Omos and make him better than he currently is. So, I mean, there is potential there. I just don't, it's Brock Lesnar. It's WrestleMania. What are we doing? Like, that's really my only thing.
I can't argue with that outside of the attraction of seeing somebody like Omos look down on Brock Lesnar. This is like we said last week. This is an Andre Hogan type of deal. You know what I mean? Not to say that
Right.
either of them are even close to Hogan, but you know what I mean.
My feeling on it is, if you can't get Brock Lesnar somebody in stature, as big as in name per se, you get it to him in stature, and I think that's the replacement with Omos. Like, you couldn't get a big name to come and fill the stage. Get him the biggest guy on the roster, and call it
physically big. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
I mean, I'm still curious as to why he refused to face Bray Wyatt. Like, we never really got the story as to why Brock
You
turned
probably
back.
saw the Pitch Black match and was like, I don't want any part of this.
Yes, keep me out of this, Vince, please.
We still haven't even seen fucking Bray.
Well, and that's the other thing. We had the report last week, and I guess maybe there is some sort of I don't know, because Dave, obviously if it's a mental or physical health issue, you really don't want to speak on it unless somebody gives you permission. So everything that's being said on it's kind of hush hush, but it seems like something has happened, whether it's a physical crisis or a mental crisis, or not even crisis to
I'm hearing it's something physical.
Yeah, like an injury. Yeah,
but
but they don't.
Corner now.
But they're not into. The thing is, it sounds Dave. When anybody talks about it, especially Dave, he's kind of being very careful with what he says because he doesn't want to put the wrong.
Which I'm shocked because usually he doesn't have much of a fucking filter. So
I know, but I think because it is somebody's injury, he's probably being a little close to the vest. But yeah, we've so again that's a minor complaint. I don't know, dude. So to kind of tie this all in together, I felt that I once you see the other tag match, which is like a 4-way nothing tag match on the card, and then you go, well, the other tag match is Sammy and Kevin against the Usos, and then you go, oh great, these are the 4 like goofy comedy acts that Sammy and Kevin now have to feud with for the next 6 months because they're going to be tag team champions rather than like main eventers. So it just, I don't know. I get it. I understand. Listen, I understand all of the business side and why everything is happening the way it just seems all so predictable. This was the WrestleMania that we were talking about literally last August. I just don't understand how there's no WrestleMania just seems like there's no surprise. Cody's saying it, a Roman without a Reigns, a Chief without a tribe. They're basically telling you what's going to be happening for the next 6 months. And that's just, I don't know. I just feel like that
what a promo.
But if I already know what's going to happen, like, I don't know, like that, if that's the thing and it's just like Roman, like down on his luck, Roman, I'm like, all right. Well,
Hey,
now
listen,
we know.
We really, we really at this moment have no fucking idea what's going to happen. Cody Rhodes is painting a picture of what's going to happen when he wins the title.
He's really talking
and
about
that's
it too
assuming
much.
He wins.
Because he's talking about, the problem I have is that he's talking about it as if it's like this is just a formality that we have to get to WrestleMania because he has to be crowned the new guy.
It's called confidence. He's walking into WrestleMania to fight the tribal chief. He has to be confident.
I said this in a Discord chat the other day. Cody Rhodes has had the most white privilege road to WrestleMania of any main eventer.
I do not disagree.
He walked, but it just seems like he shouldn't he be a heel? Shouldn't you come out at number 30 and roll over a guy that's number 1 who had like the whole crowd behind it? Shouldn't you be a heel? Like, I don't know. I just feel like there's no subterfuge here. There's no I don't want to say swerve, bro, but you know what I mean? I just feel like unless they're really holding something back, this all seems like a very predictable WrestleMania. And that's what I don't like.
I think they have done a lot to paint a picture and tell a story to tie everything together as to why Cody makes sense. With the promos with Heyman and NXT and Dusty and the grooming of Roman and everything about it, it tied together for me. I think the promo work again this week was sensational. Yes, it seems like if we were placing bets, Roman's losing. And then the next year is going to be focused on the rippling and the crumbling of the bloodline, which I'm okay with. But what if they swerve everybody? What if Sammy turns and it was all a show and he's still with the bloodline and he helps Roman retain the title? I mean, talk about a major emotional fuck.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
I'll up you a little one. What if everybody, because like Vince says, right, we know what's going to happen. Roman Reigns will no longer reign. He will lose his title. But what if everything that they've been talking about happens to Roman Reigns in one night? He loses his title, his family, and he loses his, what's his name? Paul Heyman. And he goes with Cody, and Cody turns heel the same night. And you have a double twist. And now you have Roman Reigns coming back as a face all year trying to get his belt back to WrestleMania. That's your
maybe, I mean, that sounds really fucking like I could get behind that for sure.
Like all of them turn on.
The only thing I would want to see is if that scenario happens and he loses everything in one night.
Yeah.
We don't see him after Mania for at least 3 to 6 months.
Oh,
he's got to be off
I'll
TV.
keep him out till SummerSlam. No need for him. Keep him out till SummerSlam.
Yeah, he's got to be off TV.
Well, right, because then Cody is going to be your face right now.
Right.
You know, of the company anyway.
You know what really kind of, it just all seems so and I don't want this to be the Cody bashing show, but I got to get it out because it's right before WrestleMania. When he started going into AEW, he hired like this focus group to like work with him on this stuff and like get people's and everything that he does, from the suit to the this and the that and the throwing the weight belt, and I'm going to put my indie promotions on the way. It all seems so calculate, like he seems like a junior politician running for his first like Senate office, like he's like JFK trying to make it to president, but he has to be a senator first. Like it just all feels very like this is a manufactured political run. You know what I mean? He needs to get elected. He is running for an election right now. And it just like the suit thing. It's like, Cody, wear a t-shirt once in a while, you fucking wiener. Like, I don't know. Just come off like a human being instead of like a PR robot. Like, you know what? I just, that's my, he just seems like such a wiener sometimes. Like, loosen up, man. Like, if you're really going to be the face of the company or whatever,
Yeah,
you
but
can't
Vince,
just be,
old school wrestling. You came to the arena in a suit and tie. Like, there was a dress code years ago. Like, that was the expectation.
backstage, but then you put on your tights and oiled up. Like,
But that's why I think with Cody, when he does it, I think it's like almost like a bow to pro wrestling, like a respect thing. You know what I mean?
Plus, he's dashing.
oh yeah. Well,
Okay.
have they mentioned that? I agree. See, okay, Tara thinks Cody's a wiener too. No, I'm kidding. No, she probably agrees with Steve. Could you imagine she's like furiously typing away right now? That's not what I said.
She's like, no, he's a wiener.
Yo, if she said that, I would put that right up on the screen. That's hilarious. I don't know if Eric saw this, but did you see what I had? What do you call them? Jellyfish in the background. I changed my background image to something a little more appropriate for today. The WWF arcade game from back in the day.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Figured it was way more appropriate since we're talking wrestling.
Dude, I
here.
used to play WrestleFest.
Yes.
Always. I love that.
All the time. Yeah, I've got an arcade thing over here that has a bunch of old games on it, and that's one of them. But well, I mean, so the men's stuff is pretty much set. The women's stuff is pretty much set. I mean, what are we? Is there? I don't really know if there's anything. Is there anything else we really got to throw in there? I mean, it's two. I keep forgetting it's 2 nights. With the stuff that's announced, we've got one pretty good night of WrestleMania. Guess we got to throw in a few more to kind of pad it out. But I don't know what it. LA Knight, sure. You said something about Steve Austin, but I guess we should talk about that now since we're talking about potential WrestleMania matches. When you mentioned LA Knight and Steve Austin, were you mentioning them as part of the same match or segment, or were you mentioning them separately as people who haven't been contacted yet?
Everything I'm hearing rumor wise is that LA Knight and Austin are going to have something to do with each other. But
yeah, all right. I could be down with that. Austin even said, like, I mean, I know they usually keep it close to the vest anyway, but Austin said in an interview, yeah, they haven't contacted me, and I'm kind of glad they haven't because I prefer that they stick with the young, the talent that they have now. And Al was saying something about that earlier, and I don't disagree, but at the same time, WrestleMania is supposed to be a celebration of pop culture and pro wrestling, and it usually has a certain amount of interaction from legends and Hall of Famers. And I don't want Steve Austin to wrestle a 25-minute match at all. I never did. Do I want him to go out there and, throw a couple stunners and stomp a mud hole in somebody and crack some beers open? Well, fuck yeah, it's WrestleMania. That's what should happen. But like, I agree with what his sentiment that they should focus on the talent that they have now rather than relying on legends. Because we have seen WrestleManias that relied too heavily on legends and it went the other way. So it's almost like they're correcting in the other way this year, where it's like, now we're going to do as few legends as possible to try and like reestablish, establish this new generation, the new generation. I do like that Tara said that Cody's not a wiener, but the suit is a little pretentious. Listen, I'm right there with you. I just feel like he needs to just loosen up a little bit. Like he went to acting classes when he was young, and I think that messed him up because now he's just like always on like he's like, well, I just have to be this very contemplative fucking. It's like, bro, just a little bit of just the smidge of like self-awareness. But anyway,
Vince, that's how he controls his lips.
Oh,
That's
I
how
think
he
you're right. He
controls
might
by
have to
acting.
think about it too much. He's
Right.
thinking about,
If he acts, he gets away from it.
I see Tara agrees. But what do you guys? So, and I'm gonna throw it to the panel here. If you had Stone Cold, like if you're on the phone right now, you're Bruce Pritchard, and you're calling Stone Cold. What do you off? Do you say Stone Cold and LA Knight in a match, or Stone Cold and LA Knight in a segment? What do you pitch to Stone Cold, like Al and Eric? What do you guys think?
I mean, Eric, what do you think, man?
Well, yeah.
Start me off.
Or
If it's-
Steve, what do you know? What is it?
if
Is it
it's-
L.A.
if it's
Knight? Like, is
Bruce-
he the?
If it's Bruce telling him, he's going to be like, "I love you."
I mean, listen, I think there definitely has to be a promo because I think both of them are going to be a home run against each other in a segment.
It's going to be yeah versus what?
But I'm okay with
Yeah, what?
that
You're right.
leading into an impromptu match like he had with Kevin Owens. Why the fuck not? He looked great. He still looks great.
Yeah.
You know? But I'm okay with a promo battle, Stunner, and Beer Fest. I'm good with that too.
I could see them coming. Well, you know, like LA Knight's been preaching, right? Oh, what's a Hollywood WrestleMania without LA Knight? So he could maybe come out and cut a low promo and talk about that. Like, how is it that he doesn't get a match on LA Knight, whatever, and all of a sudden you hear the glass and people go ape shit crazy. Then he comes out, all 4 turnbuckles up, gets a mic, hits him with a couple of what? Then we hear a couple of yeahs. Then we get a couple of stunners and a couple of wisers, and that's it. And that would be great.
Good with that.
I wouldn't be mad at that.
Short and sweet, couple 100,000 for him. He should be good.
And they do have one thing in common. They were both $1 million champion.
Very true. Oh, there you go. You connected them. That is awesome.
There you go.
You could bring Ted DiBiase
in Austin's career that he wants to forget forever.
Bring in Virgil. He needs money.
Master.
Oh yeah, he was $1 million champion too. Shit. That meat sauce. Someone's got to pay for that meat sauce.
VIRGIO. Yeah.
I'll never forget the afternoon that I spent with Virgil. Oh God. What a fucking long day that was.
Yeah, it sounds like
that could have turned out.
Not only was it a long day, but then I got threatened by Mike Lombardi.
Oh, because the guy was hanging around. He doesn't
Virgil. Virgil. We were at a show, and Virgil. I was then going to go to Lombardi, and Virgil asked me for a ride, and because I was with him like most of the afternoon, but he was constantly coming over to my table, and we were just whatever, and he's like, "Hey man, I'm not booked, but can you give me a ride?" And I'm like, give me a few, I'll get back to you. And I'm speed texting Lombardi, and I'm like, hey man, I got Virgil asking me to give him a lift to the show. Are you interested? And he called me. He didn't even text back. He's like, if you bring Virgil here, I will never fucking speak to you again. Yeah. I was like, understood, sir. I went back to Virgil. I was like, my man, I'm sorry. I can't give you a ride. He was not happy with me.
Yeah, but that's unfortunately that's kind of his thing. Like, I have another quick Virgil story for you, where our buddy Ken from Ken's Cards, in Connecticut here, had an event several years ago, going on a decade now, where he had the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, doing autographs and all that in his comic book and trading card and baseball card kind of store. Really fun event. But a couple days before that, the store gets a call from a guy named Mike Jones. Maybe for those of you who don't know it there, Mike Jones is Virgil's real name. So Mike Jones calls and said, hey man, I see you've got Ted DiBiase, coming in for an autograph signing. I wanted to know if I could come in too. And he's like, well, he does the same thing. He's like, let me call you back. And he calls Ted. So Ken calls Ted DiBiase, and DiBiase goes, if Mike Jones is there, I'm not coming. Basically, what he did, what Virgil would do is, if there was an announcement for Ted DiBiase to sign autographs somewhere, he would try and hop on as an attachment, because in the mind of just a promoter or somebody who's running a convention, hey, I've got Ted. I remember it was Ted and Virgil together. Why don't we put them on the same thing? They could sell like a dual photo, whatever. But DiBiase doesn't really want to do that with him. So, but he would just keep doing it. Like, Virgil would just try and add himself as an add-on without asking Ted, just calling the promoters directly. And it would start to bug DiBiase, so he doesn't really hang out with him anymore like that. So, and Virgil's an interesting cat. He's a hustler for sure.
Oh yeah, he's definitely a hustler. But all right, so listen, I want to shift gears for a minute
Yeah.
because it was a great week in wrestling, and not only in the WWE, but AEW
Oh,
kicked
yeah.
off with one of the greatest segments I've ever seen in pro wrestling with the rebar mitzvah of Maxwell Jacob Friedman. What a great, they brought a chair down to do the horror, and then he gets interrupted by 3 other superstars and says, I'm bringing the Meshuggah bitches. I thought I was gonna fucking shit myself.
You know, I like this. Honestly, I think, and I don't want him to do it in a stereotypical way, but I think Max should embrace the Jewishness a little bit more. Like I liked the look with him coming down with the scarf. Like, I'm sorry, I don't know aside from yarmulke. Is it just called a scarf? What's the scarf thing he was wearing?
The
Talus.
talus.
Yes. And I don't know if that would be disrespectful religious. Like, I don't know if religious people would get offended by that, but I think like he looked, I don't know. It just looked right on him. You know what I mean? Like that stuff just looked.
Since when does MJF give a fuck who he's offending, first of all?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh no,
you know,
Tara, did you not see this? Hold on. Tara
Tara,
says
you gotta get it on YouTube. It's the greatest thing ever.
because it's an actual, it starts off as a rebar mitzvah and then slowly devolves into the other young guy. Like they established that
The pillars.
the world title scene is now about the young guys, the youth movement. You had Jungle Boy Jack Perry out there, you had Darby Allin, you had Sammy Guevara. Did I miss anybody? And MJF, right? It's just gonna be a 4-way with those guys, right? Pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah. It was just each guy kind of pled their case as to why they deserved a shot. MJF basically said, I beat all of you guys. You don't deserve a shot. And then they proceeded to ruin his bar mitzvah. But it was a great bar mitzvah while it lasted because they really did. I mean, they did everything. They did the chair thing. They had guys like, I didn't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting a bunch of extras dressed in formal attire dancing in a circle as some of the extras hoisted Max up in a chair. That was just, it was great.
And one of the girls having a full makeout session with MJF.
Oh, he walked in
prior
with
to getting in the ring.
he walks in with 4 girls, just like a teenage kid would do at a bar mitzvah, and then just takes the fucking makeup off her face. He just sucked every bit of lip liner and eyeliner and everything off her fucking face, dude.
Do you know I was searching my apartment high and low for my yarmulke and talus for my bar mitzvah. I couldn't
Did you
find
have
it.
them?
Maybe
your parents
had it. I didn't. I wanted to wear it tonight.
That would have been cool.
That would have been fucking funny. But AEW was another home run show.
Dude,
I mean, that's just how it started. It was just another great show.
I think this was a big reset for them. Like they really decided that this pay-per-view and then the following, Dynamite's preceding that is like they're really reset. They reset everything. I mean, they put the trios titles on the House of Black. They're now kind of they're implying that Kenny's going to go back to singles action now that this trios thing is over, and maybe does Hangman join the Elite again? Does do the Elite accept him? Does Kenny accept them after their thing? Like there's all of that is happening separate of the world title, and that's something with Kenny and Hangman that could easily have a title involved, but it's not. It's just a good enough story that it can hang on its own with the Elite, and then you have the young guys, MJF, Darby, Sammy, and Jungle Boy fighting for the world title, and then you still got fucking Powerhouse Hobbs with the TNT title, which they just reestablished. They kind of reset that after the title kind of flip-flopping back and forth. It seems like we've got Hobbs established. We've got the women's title. Jamie Hayter's doing awesome. And then we got Forbidden Door announced. So, I mean, and Forbidden Door's in Toronto. So you already know Amanda, who needs to come back on the podcast. Amanda's going to be there, and she can be our correspondent.
Did she get tickets already?
I don't think they've gone on sale. They haven't gone on sale yet, but when I asked her in the group chat the other day, she said she's definitely going to go, or at least, attempt to get tickets. WrestleTix, the Twitter account, has said that Forbidden Door, the pre-sale password is the most requested password they've had for AEW in recent memory. which I don't think there is a pre-sale password yet. It's just people signing up for an email list to get one. But like, that's awesome. People are, after and I think the whole, the company went downhill after the CM Punk thing. I think that a lot of that was just fans feeling some kind of way about it and then like projecting their own feelings onto AEW. I still thought AEW was really solid in what people thought was a downtime. It was just like people's personal opinions. But
CM Punk didn't make or break the show.
No,
he's one fucking guy.
He never did. Yeah. And that's what I think people realize now. It wasn't ever about like CM Punk coming back was great. It was great for AEW. It was great for wrestling until it wasn't. But AEW was not the Punk show. Right. AEW, it was like, oh, well, what are they going to do without Cody? Oh, what are they going to do without Punk? Oh, well, we've seen that now. You know what I mean? And I know
this is the Jericho show. It's the Cesaro show. It's the fucking MJF show. It's the fucking Jungle Boy show. Like, there's so many homebred guys and girls there. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I think this is their new generation era as well, man. I think that WWE is always going to have that built-in audience, and especially during this time of the year, more people are going to watch, and it's going to ramp up because everything kind of goes towards WrestleMania. Obviously, AEW doesn't have 40 years of tradition behind it like that to get those kind of numbers, but they're developing this core group of guys that they're hoping will be their main event scene for, the next decade. Wow, they're all young. They're all in their 20s, I think. So they could wrestle Darby might be in a wheelchair by 32, but yeah, man, I just think it's a great setup that they have because the world title scene is focusing on these young guys, and then everything else is kind of they've now proven that Omega can be Omega on TV regardless of the world title. Hangman doesn't need the world title right now. They've got a lot of main event guys. Moxley doesn't have a title right now. Danielson doesn't have a title right now. You've got a bunch of legit main event guys that don't really, have a title or have a championship, but they still have like big time storylines. And now you've got a young guy as your champ. Like I like that a lot.
Yeah, no, to me, AEW's doing it all right. They're just really, the storylines are compelling. The wrestling is great. There are things like I will tell you one thing that drives me fucking nuts is during a ladder match when they climb, the refs are holding the ladder in place.
Yeah, but
that also drives me fucking nuts.
I get it, but I understand like what it's. Part of me is like, if this was football or baseball, the referee, you know what I mean? I feel like the referee would step in to make sure things were safe. Like, I feel like that's part of, I don't know. It almost makes sense because they're looking at it like, well, these guys are like my coworkers, or these are like athletes performing, and we'd rather watch them do what they intend to do rather than like watch them crash and burn. I also understand the other side where it's a ladder match. This shit has to happen. If you crash and burn, that's part of the spectacle of a ladder match.
Some of those are the best spots. Is the shit that went wrong.
I think they need to buy heavier, like heavy duty. If you notice, they use like thinner metal sheet, like sheet metal almost. I think they need to buy more solid ladders because like the issue was it was a tall, skinny, thin metal ladder, and you have a big guy like Powerhouse Hobbs trying to climb it, and the whole thing was like buckling under his weight. They just needed you can buy ladders that hold heavier people. Like they exist. They just need to do it.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Ryan also says, because this is a thing that WWE will do if a ref is holding a ladder or holding something in place for a spot. That could be solved better by better camera work to avoid the ref being in the shot. Also, yes.
Which is true. Al, what's your take on this?
I mean, I'm not against it. Again, it could just, they always try to do things a little bit different. And I don't oppose to it. Again, it is safer for the wrestlers. But I just think overall it's not really the biggest deal. What I would say is this though. One thing that AEW has great, and I guess is because of the athletes that they just give the work to and they just do wonders with, is the writers. These storylines that these guys have are pretty goddamn good. Because usually WWE we give it its credit, but their storylines for the past, call it 2 decades, I would say for the majority of the parts, they're strong in maybe their top two. Like AEW is well rounded all around. Like when when storylines come up, the women's division or the trios division or the tag team division, everything's got some heat going on with a storyline following 2-3 weeks ago. So I think that's awesome. And they do a great job at it, which, keeps you tuning in and all that other good stuff. And I love the fact that they space out their pay-per-views. That's another thing. I feel like WWE is a little too stagnant with one every month. I used to like it when it was at least every, quarterly or every 3 months, every 4 months. It makes it special. You have a big build up for it.
I agree 100%. Way too many pay-per-views.
Yeah, so I mean, and that's AEW spreads them out. So that's what I like about that. I know that they still do and that's what maybe WWE should look into doing rather than doing so many pay-per-views, is to have like a special Raw or a special SmackDown where Dynamite and Rampage were both from the Arthur Ashe Center for Grand Slam, and they treated that like a big deal, and they had like the first Hangman Danielson Iron Man match there.
It was booked like a pay-per-view.
Right, it was booked like all that. So if they, and that's great, because then you don't have to sell a pay-per-view. You don't have to try and sell people on a $50 pay-per-view. That's
right,
another thing.
And it'll help your weekly views.
Yeah, they want that $50.
Right, but I think another thing that really could help them is if they, and I know they've been talking about it since they started, but if they eventually get a streaming deal where you don't have to pay $50 a pay-per-view, would be great. Or at least with a provider that because a lot of the times the reason that the cost is so expensive is that the pay-per-view provider off the top takes like 50%. So $25 then gets split between AEW, Warner Brothers, this one and that one, and then everybody gets a little piece of something. That's why traditional pay-per-view prices are so high. But if they can find a way to manage that, I think they would get more pay-per-view. But I know it's only every couple months, so $50 isn't as hard of an ask. $50 a month back when WWE was doing that was a lot to ask. But $50 every 3 or 4 months, I guess, isn't so bad. But it's still $50 in a time where a lot of people are kind of hurting. So
yeah.
But I do, I think special events on TV, they'll help drive the ratings up for at least for that week. And then, then maybe you can get some people following along. But I like, I like what I watch AEW more regularly than anything else. I don't know. I like it. And some people say there aren't stories, which means you're not really paying attention or you're not really watching the show.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
Right.
And even if there isn't, though, but here's the thing: they go, like Kenny Omega versus Vikingo doesn't have a story behind it, but that's okay to me because if the Patriots play the Packers or something, there's no story behind it, but it's going to be a good football game. You know what I mean? I sometimes you want to sit down and you want to watch, the Yankees against the Phillies. There's not a story there, but it's going to be a good game. I want to watch a good wrestling match. I don't care. Vikingo's story is that he's really good and he's from Mexico and nobody knows who he is. And Kenny Omega's story is that he's the best fucking wrestler in the world. I just want to see those two guys wrestle. I don't care about if he stole Miss Elizabeth from Vikingo. I just want him to wrestle.
No, I get it, but you do need compelling story,
But every once in a while, to bring in a guy.
Yeah. You can have a match. We are wrestlers at the end of the day. Hey, they booked us. We got to wrestle. Let's keep it moving.
Right. And I think what if at the end of this match, instead of shaking hands, Vikingo low blows Kenny Omega, and now you get it set up for the next pay-per-view. You know what I mean? There could be a reason they're having this match. It doesn't just have to be a one-off thing. There might be another plan.
Right.
And they do that all the time. Well, WWE does.
Yeah. Well, I liked the big swerve that AEW did most recently was Action Andretti.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. I liked him rolling up Jericho or pinning Jericho clean. That was amazing. I really thought that was a way to make a guy instantly. You know what I mean? He's just now established, even though he's pretty much a rookie. He's like established as a mid-card guy.
Oh yeah.
And it didn't hurt Jericho. Look, Jericho's fine. Jericho's now the JAS. Since we're talking about AEW, I'll bring this up. See what you guys are thinking of this. JAS against the House of Black.
I think it's going to
for
be
those
great.
trios titles.
I think it's going to be great. I think the House of Black is keeping the titles.
Oh, for sure. And I think it's going to help. I think it's going to help the House of Black too, because they do a lot of their stuff in pre-taped kind of vignettes and segments and stuff. And I feel like the Jericho sports entertainment-y stuff is going to be more in the ring and not necessarily wrestling, but like in the arena with the people. So it's not like heavily edited like their videos are. I feel like it's going to help Julia and all those guys with like developing, kind of creating a new kind of edge to their character or a new facet to their character, because they have to now, they're these very serious, dark, gothic, whatever, spooky people, and they have to put up with the nonsense that is the Jericho Appreciation Society, Jake Hager and his fucking purple hat, and Daniel Garcia and his feud with Sammy, and all the ridiculous shit that Jericho does. You know what I mean? So they have to like find a way to combat that now.
Right. No, that's true.
So I like where they're going, man. I think the next few months for AEW is going to be, they've already kind of set it up, but I think it's going to be an interesting ride for them. It's not, it's not their road to WrestleMania, but I think this is where they're going to start trying to establish these young guys as their main event guys. So we're, our next 4 to 6 months will be the rise of Jungle Boy to main event Jungle Man, and Darby Allin for the world title against MJF, Sammy Guevara for the world title against MJF, or maybe the Four Pillars 4-way match. Of course, Max wins, but you put all 4 of those guys out there, you make it a ladder match, or you make it a 1 fall to a finish match, and just let them go crazy.
Yeah, that'll be cool. That'll be. I mean, that'll definitely showcase a lot. Putting all those guys together in one match, they're going to go all out.
Yeah,
they're the young guys and they have something to prove. So that'll be crazy.
Right, definitely.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think that's, all of this was designed. I know the Christian thing could have gone faster, but Christian got injured. But the pairing with Christian and then the feud with Christian was to get Jungle Boy to that next level. And
it worked.
I think it worked as kind of goofy or corny as a casket match might be in those kind of circumstances. It did what it needed to do. It showed like Jungle Boy. The whole story was Jungle Boy didn't have an edge. He didn't have the killer instinct to like put away an opponent, and that's why he would always lose, is because he wasn't willing to take that extra step. And like Christian brought that out of him, and he finally hit him with that chair, and he gave him a tombstone. He rolled him into the friggin' casket and closed it. Like that was Jungle Boy getting his edge. So if he can carry that edge over into a feud with Max, because the last time Jungle Boy got on the microphone with Max, it was like a year or 2 ago, he got torched.
Oh,
MJF ran through him. So I think if we have if Jungle Man can come through, it'll be very interesting. I'm out of all the guys, and I think they're all main event potential worthy. Jack Perry, the son of actor Luke Perry, who tragically passed away at a young age, all this other stuff. That's a guy. That's like a company guy that you put a belt on, you put him on TV, you put him on Good Morning America, you send him to interviews and movie debuts and premieres and shit. Like he's a guy. Like not that MJF isn't, but when you put like somebody who's related to a famous actor like that in that position, then that would help. Like I think some of the entertainment things would be more apt to include, like, oh, Jack Perry, we don't need to just talk about wrestling. We could talk, what's it like to grow up with Luke Perry as your father, blah, blah, blah. And bridge the gap between the pop culture and entertainment stuff and the wrestling stuff. He could be that guy.
I did not know that was his son.
Yeah, that was.
Look at his face. He looks exactly like his dad.
That's like D.H. Smith. Who do you think he's related to? That's the British Bulldog son, baby. He's got his face.
Holy shit! Now that you're saying it, now it makes sense. Holy shit!
Yeah, and listen, I also just in general think that AEW needs to do a little bit more with getting their guys out there. And I know they've been on like Impractical Jokers. Cody had that reality show that he was on for a couple seasons, but like, and now they do have like an actual reality show coming out for AEW. But I just, I want to see those guys out there. I want to see them at like, even if I'll never watch the Teen Choice Awards or the Nickelodeon Awards or like, I'll never watch the red carpet of some movie premiere. I'd love to see those guys just out there rubbing elbow, like MJF out there with that belt in a nice suit, hanging out at some award show or some TV thing. I think he would fit right in, and it would be a nice opportunity for AEW as well.
100%.
Yeah, they got to get their asses in movies and commercials and all that other good stuff.
Yeah. And maybe this is the thing, like, because there are some guys, like I see Ricky Starks, and not only is Ricky Starks a good wrestler, I think Ricky Starks is a fucking character. I think Ricky Starks has if you put Ricky Starks on like Big Brother or Survivor or something, like, oh my God, he'd kill it. If you put him on like even a scripted show and you made him like a drop-in, like a Fonzie character that showed up every now and again, I think he'd kill it. So like it would be, they have this relationship with Warner Brothers. I think they need to capitalize on it. Put these guys into more stuff.
I'm surprised with them having TNT and all that other good stuff, like
I really think Starks held his own with like the stuff with MJF that he did.
Oh my God. Yes. I think Starks is Starks is one of those guys that could, he has main evented stuff for AEW before, but I think he was one that if there wasn't, like, the pandemic helped him get over, but also if we had crowds during that point where he got hot during the pandemic, like right after he debuted fighting with Cody and all that, if they had crowds, he'd be a fucking megastar right now.
He was one of the standouts on NWA Power.
He was, and he was one of the reasons I watched that show.
Him and Question Mark and
oh yeah, unfortunately he passed away.
Yeah.
Josephus, but yeah, man, there was a lot of potential in those guys, those NWA guys, but like Ricky Starks was the one that rose to the top, and yeah, look at that. We're talking about all these young guys instead of like, we're not talking about like, is it Batista or Cena or Randy Orton anymore? Like we're talking about some young ass guys. I like it.
I'd also like them to do some stuff with Adam Cole.
Baby, I think they got to make sure that he's back in fighting shape. Like he's got a comeback match. But then
I
think
have
it's
big
full
plans
steam
for
ahead.
Adam Cole.
I feel like they have Hugh. I feel like he might be the guy that beats MJF because they've got the reality show that seems to not just focus on AEW.
Oh, that's
right.
right.
Like Starks is big character. Starks is a big character. TK, Tony Khan's a big character. But fucking Britt and Adam are big characters. And remember when they were both healthy,
when is that starting? Soon, right?
But even remember when Adam was healthy and they both won the Owen Hart men's and women's King and Queen of Hearts tournaments. Like, Tony loves Adam Cole.
And now Britt's a mega baby face. And
that's the thing. She's a mega star now. So I just feel like, the time might be right. Not now, obviously. Give Max his due. But I think down the line.
There's a nice solid run.
Yeah, sure. I think, maybe Full Gear. Adam Cole versus MJF in Full Gear. Because you give a pay-per-view or two to have the 4 pillars 4-way match or whatever it is. And then you have a singles match. The singles match is finally where MJF loses it, 9 months down the line or something.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Anything Adam Cole, I'm good with. I love Adam Cole.
And he missed a lot of time. It just sucks that, the concussion thing is a real issue, like anything, like any other contact sport. Concussions are a real issue.
But it sounds like he's okay,
it sounds like he's okay. So as long as it's the same thing with Saraya and Danielson, where they both had career-ending injuries, but through the advancement of medical technology, they've been able to come back. So whatever Adam Cole had to do to get from being nauseous to the point of throwing up while taking a car ride to now, I'm just glad that they were able to figure out a treatment plan for him so he didn't have to, not just so he could wrestle again. Could you imagine living like that? You're trying to go to sleep. You always have a headache. You can't sleep. You can't ride in a car. You can only watch a TV or play a video game for half an hour or an hour at a time before you start feeling sick.
No, it's horrible.
Yeah, so I'm just, it's like with Big E, which there's no update on Big E whether or not he's going to come back. It kind of seems like he might be done, but I would rather them figure out what it is to make sure he can like walk and play with his kids. I don't care if he wrestles again. I just want to make sure the guy isn't like going to live the rest of his life in extreme pain or like in a wheelchair or somehow crippled,
Yeah, no, I agree. Although I got to tell you, I've been hearing rumors that he is going to be back and that he's on his way back to being close to ready.
Well, I hope so. I mean, I would never complain about a comeback from Big E, man. He was established as a champion, and then, injuries and whatever, the lamp getting dropped in your head.
Literally had his best year before
He really
got
did.
injured.
And he was set to have it looked like he was set to have a hell of a next year after that.
Right.
So, because it didn't seem like they were going to take that title off him right away. It seemed like he was going to have a good title run.
Yeah.
And is it just me, or does anyone else really, really miss Randy Orton?
Yeah,
well, I saw a thing
really
this
miss
week.
Randy Orton.
There, I guess, for the first time in a long time, there were actually rumblings backstage about Randy Orton potentially coming back or being involved.
It's been almost a full year.
It has. So it's possible, man. That these rumblings could lead to maybe a potential SummerSlam return for your boy. Because I mean,
Randy is one of Steve's guys.
That's my boy. Oh, listen, or he returns on the Raw after Mania.
Raw after Mania.
That Raw is just as important as Mania itself. So
absolutely, yeah. That sets the tone for the whole next year of whatever they're going to be doing.
New Year's Day.
All that big shit happens the next day. Like
it really does.
A lot of the call-ups,
yeah, or or Paige, debuts or something like that.
Right, yeah. There's always something big that's happening that day. So I feel like they know that too. They're not dumb. They're gonna have something planned for that. So maybe it is Randy Orton. I mean, the other name we haven't heard about because he was in rehab or whatever is Matt Riddle.
Matt Riddle, yeah.
So maybe we see a little
RK Bro return.
Reunion for one or both of them. Maybe they're together. Maybe they feud. Maybe they're maybe they have to get back together because they both There's different ways you can go with those guys now that they're established as.
And
like
if Orton gets
a
back
team.
and he's healthy, I think he's got at least one more world title run in him.
Well, that's the interesting thing because him and John Cena are both one away from. Was it tying or breaking Ric Flair's 16 streak?
Cena's tied, and I think Orton's like one or two away or something.
Well, then we got to get Orton at least tied, like Cena.
Seeing that, and then that's the big one. They should. What would be the most appropriate? Would it be if both of them were tied at 16 and there was like a title up for grabs? It was like title. It would have to
be a triple threat.
Yeah, right. Because they would have to both be contenders. Yeah,
yeah.
Something to think about.
And on that note,
we
have reached the top of the hour.
Indeed, we have. Thanks, guys, for tuning in again for another edition of the War Report, brought to you by TagMeADate. Be sure to follow us on social media. Ooh, Tara just said, I literally just read that today. Orton rumored to be back at Raw after Mania. Well,
look at that.
Well, in the words of Joel Gertner. How interesting.
It's like we worked there.
How the turntables.
Yes.
Little Michael Scott reference there.
Weekly offers reference. Excellent. So, yeah, man. Big things happening. Road to WrestleMania. And then, of course, like we said, the Monday Night Raw afterward is just as important as WrestleMania itself to set the tone. So we shall see. As I said, today is March 21st. We've got 12 days. We got 2 weeks, man. A little less than 2 weeks before we WrestleMania Night 1. So we shall see where we're headed the closer we get to the magic number of April 1st. So that'll do it for this week for another edition of the War Report. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, checking us out. Follow us on social media at TagMeADate. We're all over the place. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're on Facebook. Just search at TagMeADate. That's TagMeADate with no spaces or underscores. It's all one word, TagMeADate. Same thing on, YouTube is also TagMeADate. Type TagMeADate in the search bar. You can hit subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when we go live. You can also see some archives of our past streams. If you want to view streams anywhere else, we stream on Facebook, we stream on Twitter, we stream on Steve's LinkedIn. In addition to YouTube, we also stream on Twitch, twitch.tv. This is the only one that's different from Tag Me a Date. It's twitch.tv/War Report. That's WARREPORT. And again, you can just give us a favorite or give us a like over there and watch some past streams on Twitch as well. But we're all over delivering you your weekly dose of wrestling talk. And if you prefer the audio version over the video version of the podcast, never fear. We have the audio version. Ryan will pull up for us, usually within the hour that the show goes off the air, between like 7 and 8 p.m. Ryan will pull the audio and upload it to the podcast app of your choice. It's, take your pick: Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts. Type in the War Report, type in Tag Me a Date. I'm sure you'll find us. If you do find two wrestling podcasts called the War Report, never fear. Just look at the icon in the description. It will say Tag Me a Date. It'll say Steve or Vince or Eric or any of the names here. Just based on that description, you should know it's us. There is, in fact, another audio wrestling podcast called the War Report. I just want to make sure that we're differentiating between the two and make sure you're subscribing to the right one. And last but not least, we are on the road to WrestleMania. This is a big time for wrestling fans, a big time for people who might not necessarily watch wrestling all the time to start watching again at this time of year. So share the love here, spread the word of Tag Me a Date. Let your friends know that, you've got a podcast that you like listening to. And if they like wrestling, it's just a group of friends that talk wrestling and share our opinions and where we think everything's going. So if you are enjoying it, chances are one of your friends who likes wrestling will as well. Throw us a share or a follow or a copy and paste the link to somebody, or, maybe just knock on your neighbor's door and play it from your phone. Don't ever break eye contact. Just play a 1 hour long video while staring at your neighbor at their front door. That works too. Don't do that. Please don't do that. But that's it, guys. We're going to pack up for now. We'll be back next week, next Tuesday, 6 p.m. on Eastern time for another edition of the War Report. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a great rest